Good morning and welcome to today's New York City hearing for the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchise. At this time, we ask you to silence all electronic devices, and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you would like to sign up for in-person testimony or have other questions throughout the hearing, please see the Sergeant at Arms. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. I'm Councilmember Kevin Rowley, Chair of this subcommittee. This morning, I'm joined by Councilmember Shulman and remotely by Councilmember Moyer. Today, we will hold 4 public hearings. 2 will cover projects in Brooklyn, including the Marcus Garvey Boulevard Large-Scale General Development, or LSGD, proposal in Bedford-Stuyvesant, as well as the North 7th Street rezoning proposal in Williamsburg. In Queens, we will have a hearing on Article 11 tax exemption, request for the previously approved Ocean Crest project. And for the 145 project in Manhattan, we are holding a hearing on the zoning special permit, which is a part of the package of the land use actions relating to the project, for which we held a comprehensive public hearing last month. On a procedural note, please note that LU's items 287 and 288 on today's agenda are laid over, and I will now review the hearing procedures. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or through Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council's website at www.council.nyc.gov/landuse to sign up. For those of you in here in person, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to prepare and submit a speaker's card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting on the Council's website. When you are called to testify before the subcommittee, if you join us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony you would like to submit instead of appearing in person, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Written testimony may be submitted up to 3 days after the hearing is closed. Please indicate the LU number and/or project name in the subject line of your email. We request that the witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by myself, as council members may have questions. Lastly, for everyone attending today's meeting, this is a government proceeding and decorum must be observed at all times. Members of the public are asked not to speak during the meeting unless you are testifying. The witness table is reserved for people called to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. Just want to state for the record, we've been joined by Councilmember Carr. I will now open the public hearing on LU's 296 relating to the application for a zoning special permit, which is related to the 2 other applications for a zoning map amendment and a zoning text amendment, and all of which together are being reviewed concurrently by the council, and all of which together will facilitate the development known as 145 for Harlem in Councilmember Salam's district. I will remind everyone that this subcommittee held a public hearing on the other 2 applications on May 20th last month, where we heard comprehensive testimony from the applicants and the public regarding all aspects of the proposal. Today's hearing is on the zoning special permit, which is a part of that package of applications covered on May 20th. For anyone wishing to testify on this item remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to submit a speaker's card. And if you prefer to submit written testimony, you may always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Council, are there any, Council, can you please administer the affirmation? Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding the rezoning proposal?
Chair, I understand that we do have remote witnesses. Okay, it appears that we did have some registrations, but they are currently not in the room. They are not logged on. We'll just give them a few more seconds in case
We'll
they
stand
log
at
on.
ease for 60 seconds.
Sorry? No, we're not voting on this. This is just a routine, because we couldn't legally hold the hearing on the special permit last month. We just have to do this. Did Carr already leave?
He's in B&T.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in person here to testify on LU number 296? There being no members of the public who wish to testify on LU number 296 relating to the 145 zoning special permit application, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. I will now open a public hearing on pre-considered LUs items associated with the application number G 250076 SCQ relating to an Article 11 tax exemption request for the Ocean Crest project in Majority Whip Brooks Powers District in Queens. The proposal seeks to facilitate an affordable home ownership development with approximately 89 units in Queens. The project site was the subject of a rezoning proposal that was approved by the council in 2023. For anyone wishing to testify on this item remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeant at arms to submit a speaker's card. If you would like if you prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call the applicant for this proposal, which is Jesse Battis, and I understand we also have some project team members from HPD on hand for a Q&A if necessary, including Ryan Morose, Emily Adler, and Justin Donlin. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Mr. Batis, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record? Jesse Batis. The red light indicates that it's on.
Jesse Batis.
Thank you. And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. I know that the Majority Whip Brooks Powers is excited to be in a position to continue moving this development forward, particularly an affordable home ownership project in her district. So thank you, and I have no questions. I now invite my colleagues if they have any questions. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Pursuant to Section 577 of the Private Housing Finance Law, Restored Homes Housing Development Fund Corporation, who will acquire the exemption area, and TCB Beach Channel Drive Limited Partnership, and will collectively be known as owner, is seeking approval of an Article 11 tax exemption for a project known as Ocean Crest. Ocean Crest is an 89-unit, 100% affordable homeownership development previously approved by the City Council on August 8th of 2023. The proposal is to be financed under HPD's Open Door program wherein eligible sponsors purchase city-owned or privately owned land and construct cooperative and condominium buildings affordable to moderate and middle-income households. Thank you, Chair Riley and subcommittee members, for your time and consideration of this proposal.
Thank you. The applicant panel is now excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this rezoning proposal?
Anyone with us in the chambers wishing to testify on the Ocean Crest Article 11, please step forward, identify yourself, submit a speaker card to the sergeants.
Thank you. There being no members of the public who wish to testify on the pre-considered LU for Ocean Crest, Article 11, tax exemption request, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. Thank you. I will now open a public hearing on LU's numbers 300, 301, and 302 relating to the Marcus Garvey Boulevard LSGD proposal in Councilmember Osei's district in Brooklyn. The proposal seeks a zoning map amendment, a zoning text amendment, and a zoning special permit to develop a 14-story affordable senior housing building in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood of Brooklyn. For anyone wishing to testify on these items remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeant-at-arms to submit a speaker's card. If you prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which includes Eric Palantic and Chris Bramwell. Council, can you please administer the affirmation? And I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined remotely by Councilmember Abreu.
Applicant panelists, please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Chris Bramwell.
And Eric Palatnik.
Thank you. I'll ask you each in turn, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions? Mr. Bramwell?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Palatnik?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, and now the applicant team may begin. I just ask that you please reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may
Sure.
begin.
My name is Eric Palatnik. I'm an attorney, and I'm representing CV Emmanuel in this rezoning special permit application that, if approved, will create fully affordable senior housing on the opposite of the Joni Mitchell song, what is now a parking lot. So we are going to actually remove the parking lot and build a building. The building is shown right here. If you can go to the next slide, please. I don't know who's controlling the screen. Do I control it?
No, you just say next slide when you're ready. And
All right, next slide, please. There you go, I thought so. So you can't see it from here, you can't read the words, so I'll read it to you, but what you can see in the lower right-hand corner is a brand-new proposed 14-story building. The reason we're here today is because the top portion of it that's shaded in a little bit of a mauve color or burgundy color is not allowed to be there as of right. So we're requesting here a height increase to allow the increase in height to a 14-story building from what is a permitted building height of 90 feet to a total proposed height of 155 feet. And I'm not going to go through the entire presentation, but suffice it to say there are multiple buildings within the blocks all surrounding it of similar height. Also, as point of reference, we met with the Community Planning Board multiple times, and we've met with the council member related to this, and we've met with the borough president. We received support at the Community Planning Board. We have not heard back from the council member yet, but I have no reason to believe that he's objecting to it. Mr. Bramwell here has met with him, and we received a support letter from the borough president's office. If the application is approved, it will allow for the creation of 292 additional units in addition to the 269 that are there now, resulting in 560 units, all of which will be for affordable housing, the existing housing and the proposed, to people at 60% or lower AMI, and it will be using federal tax credit subsidies as well as a host of other funding sources to achieve that. And I'll skip right to the chase, and then I'll stop talking. If you can go to page 6, please. Page 6 shows you what we are doing so you can understand it. Again, we're asking for a rezoning from an R6A to an R7A, and we're asking for a special permit for the height increase. We're not asking for the rezoning for floor area. We're very well underbuilt. We're asking for the rezoning to facilitate the height and to enable the height special permit. It will be 14 stories, and the building will be built on the parking lot. It's part of a larger complex known as Willoughby Court Apartments, which Mr. Bramwell and his organization took control of about a decade ago, and have spent the last decade making substantial improvements in safety, security, and apartments and site conditions. We heard multiple testimony from multiple people at the Community Planning Board, most of whom supported Mr. Bramwell and the work that he's been doing there for the past 10 years. If this is approved as a part of a larger site improvement, there will be a new plaza area built in the area that's the parking lot between the new building and the existing buildings. All of the landscaping inside the interior courtyard, which is everybody's open area, will be replaced and replanted with new landscaping. There'll be new fencing, new lighting, new security systems. There'll be new sidewalks installed as necessary around the property, as well as street trees installed, as well as more lighting and security on the perimeter. Security is a #1 concern for Mr. Bramwell. It was raised at the community board, and he's intent on making this as safe and as nice as he could do so. And that is, in essence, our application. We'd be happy to answer any specific questions the committee may have.
Thank you. You're proposing to build on an existing parking lot that I understand is utilized by residents of the Willoughby Court Apartments.
Yes.
The application proposed to relocate the existing space to a cellar of the new building. Will this be a one-for-one replacement, or will there be a reduction in the number of spaces?
It'll be a one-for-one replacement that was discussed at length. People value their cars. The other thing to take note of, so the committee has assurance, is the parking lot is substantially underutilized. We have documents in our application that say so, but also you could see from the photo, it's just a random Google aerial, that the parking lot is at about 50% capacity. That's pretty much its average capacity, but there will be a one-for-one replacement at the cellar level.
Can you clarify how the proposed affordable senior housing will be funded? Do you intend to use the HPD SARA term sheet?
Yes, we do.
Can you clarify the affordability tenants will receive vouchers and be required to pay 30% of income as rent? Is that correct?
Not all tenants are going to receive vouchers, but it will be at the 60% AMI, the rents.
I will now ask questions on behalf of Councilmember Osei. The tenants of Willoughby Court Apartments have expressed concerns about existing amenities requiring upgrades, sanitation in and around property, and personal on-site. How do you plan to address these concerns?
We've met with the tenants a number of times, and we are doing some upgrades that'll go along with this project. We'll be redoing the courtyard. There's a massive courtyard that is in the center of the project. We're doing some security upgrades and a lot of beautification. Also, with the plaza that will be between the two buildings, that will also be a great amenity for the residents to have.
I did not know this, so I'm asking this question, and Eric knows how I feel about studios. You're proposing 222 studios and 69 one-bedrooms. How did you decide on the number of studios in relation to the number of one-bedroom units, and what were the considerations that determined this?
Sure. This is proposed to be fully affordable senior housing. We're taking off of much data that's been accumulated on senior housing through the decades. Obviously, family sizes are tremendously smaller in a senior household. So we're trying to accommodate, and it's been targeted towards couples and maybe couples that have a child, but it's really targeted towards seniors. We're not trying. I'm 56, so I guess I'll be a senior in a few years. I got a 13-year-old.
You got a long time, Eric.
Right? We got a little time. But people my age are not necessarily the target here. The target demographic are people that are in their late 60s, 70s, that are in need of some social services in addition to some income relief in their rent, and that's who we're trying to attract to the property.
Are there any existing studios in the development?
Currently,
No?
no, we don't have any currently.
I am not a big fan of studios. I don't think they're conducive to someone who's trying to live in a nice space where they want to, invite their loved ones over and not have them, in their private space as soon as they enter their household. I do understand why studios are needed, because we do have to address the units that we are able to produce. So I understand, but I would just ask if there is any space to produce any more one-bedrooms, you would try your best to do so. I can only ask that request.
I will discuss it with the architect and the team to see if there's any adjustments that can be made.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Councilmember Shulman, you have any questions? Okay. There being no other council members with questions, thank you so much for testifying here today.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
everybody.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this application?
Yes, Chair, we have currently one registration for public testimony, and we currently have no one signed up online, but we do have the one in-person witness.
Okay. I will now call up Julius Tajin. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I always mispronounce your name, Julius. I'm sorry.
Is this the 145 going up?
No, it's not. That was done already.
Okay.
Yeah, that was done already, Julius. You can submit written testimony on that one, though, which I believe you did already.
I could do it again. but like-
Yes, you could do it again. Okay? All right, thank you, Julius. If there are any other members who wish to testify on this application relating to LU's numbers 300, 301, or 302, relating to the Marcus Garvey Boulevard LSGD proposal, you can raise your hand online, or if you're in person, you can see the Sergeant at Arms. Will stand at ease for 10 seconds. Not 10 minutes. There being no members of the public who wish to testify, LU's number 300, 301, and 302 for the Marcus Garvey Boulevard LSGD proposal. The public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. Thank you so much. Okay, our last hearing we will have today. I will now open the public hearing on LU's number 298 and 299 relating to the North 7th Street rezoning proposal in Councilmember Gutierrez District in Brooklyn. The proposal includes a zoning map amendment and a related zoning text amendment to facilitate the development of a new 6-story residential building with approximately 28 apartments in the Williamsburg neighborhood of Brooklyn. For anyone wishing to testify on these items today, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to submit a speaker's card. If you prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call for the applicant panel for this proposal. This consists of Richard LaBelle. Is Amanda here?
Amanda's in the audience.
She's not.
She's not testifying.
Okay. Victor?
Yeah.
Victor, how you pronounce your last name?
Efremenko.
Victor Efremenko and Alexander
Zhitnik.
Zhitnik. And I understand we also have remote participants for Christina Shitspansky and Kevin Williams. Council, please administer the affirmation.
Applicant panelists, would you please raise your right hands and state your name for the record?
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel.
Victor Efremenko.
Alexander Zhitnik.
And I will ask you each in turn to answer the following. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions? Mr. LaBelle,
I do.
Mr. Efremenkoff,
I do.
Mr. Zichik.
I do.
Thank you. And now the applicant panel may begin. As you start, please reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may begin.
Thank you, Chair Riley, Councilmember Schulman, other council members joining remotely. My name is Richard Lobel from the law firm of Sheldon Lobel, and I'm here with Victor and Alex to present the North 7th Street rezoning. We are hopeful that the zoning subcommittee will be supportive of a rezoning which has enjoyed the unanimous vote of Community Board 1 in Brooklyn, as well as the unconditional approval of the Brooklyn Borough President. Next slide, please. So this is a very local rezoning. Victor and several of his neighbors, specifically 3 other applicants, are proposing a rezoning to 8 lots on the south side of North 7th Street between Bedford and Berry Streets. This rezoning would allow for the reinstatement of R6 zoning, so there would be an existing R6B and R6B C24 that would be rezoned to R6A C24. We are also, of course, seeking an MIH text amendment to allow for mapping options 1 and 2. The resulting development would be a new 6-story, 26,000 plus square foot mixed residential and commercial building, which would consist of ground floor commercial use and roughly 28 units, of which roughly 7 would be permanently income restricted. I will present with regards to the land use, briefly discuss architectural aspects, and then both Alex in terms of architecture and Victor in terms of program are happy to answer any questions. Next slide, please. As you can see from the circled area, tough to see, but we'll see it in the coming maps, this property is currently located on a block on which the southern portion of the property is already zoned R6A. That's an existing MX8, M12, R6A mixed-use district that was zoned as part of the 2005 Greenpoint Williamsburg rezoning. This property was previously R6, parentheses M12, and was rezoned to R6B over 20 years ago. The rezoning would, in essence, restore that R6 non-contextual zoning, which here would permit FAR up to 3.9 and allow for development of residential, and importantly, required affordability, which is not currently a part of the existing zoning district. If you can skip 2 slides to the tax map, you can see the extent of the zoning district boundaries. So the R6A would be mapped from 100 feet from Bedford through to Berry Streets, and a commercial overlay would be on the middle portion of the block to meet up with the existing commercial overlay existing along Berry and North 7th. In addition, you can see the red highlighted area. That is the area that is the development site currently owned by Victor and his co-applicants. The next slide is the area map, which I think tells the story well in terms of why this is such a supported rezoning. You can see from the area map, the Bedford Avenue L stop exists roughly 150 feet from the site. There are multiple subway lines within half a mile of the site, multiple bus lines as well, at least 4 bus lines, and you've got existing thoroughfares along Bedford and Berry Streets. Clearly, the area can handle this modest additional density, in addition to which, pursuant to City of Yes, the current building is R6A, which would allow for, or the proposed building would allow for 6 stories here as proposed. The existing R6B, because of City of Yes, would also allow for 6 stories. So essentially, we're allowing for a more full floor plate, which will allow for the increase in residential units as well as affordability in this area. I would add that the area is in dire need of residential use as well as affordable units, given the tremendous upswing in population since 2010. In the most recent census, since 2010, there was roughly a 40% increase in the number of residents in the area, clearly placing much pressure on the housing market. The next several slides, we can just page through, show pictures of the area, including the next slide, which shows the site itself, existing 1 to 3 story buildings with ground floor commercial. I would also note that the commercial overlay here would serve to create conforming conditions on many of the commercial uses already existing on this block, an additional bonus of the rezoning. As we page through the next several slides, I guess if we go to the next slide, you can see the proposed building in rendering. There is a building across the street which totals 12 stories in height, so the 6-story building here clearly within the context of this block. And with the remaining slides and plans, you can see the sensitive design in terms of the area. If you want to keep moving forward, you can see the floor plans, which allow for cellar storage. You can keep going. The next slide. Ground floor commercial and residential use, as well as 3 parking spaces. And then as you go, you can keep paging through the upper stories. These provide a mix of studios, 1s and 2s. I would add that the building is very heavily favored towards 1 and 2 bedroom units, a total of 4 studios, 14 1-bedrooms, and 10 2-bedrooms, resulting in 85% of the units at 1 bedroom or above. In essence, that's the application. Again, we've received tremendous support to date. Community Board 1 was very gracious in their approving this application by a vote of 40 to nothing. And with that, the applicant's happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard. The building you're proposing is just shy of utilizing the full FAR. Please explain why you aren't able to use the full FAR.
Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about the current utilization of the square footage?
I think only one aspect of the project that Richard didn't mention, that the project also includes an affordable component. So this is not purely market rate building. In terms of FAR, this particular proposal was designed prior to the latest rezoning. So the building was designed based on 3.0 FAR right now, although the latest rezoning would allow 3.9 FAR, which could increase the bulk, but we decided not to modify the project because it's already enough and it's in advanced stages already. So we are actually under building in comparison to what it could have been done based on the most recent zoning. So it's not a maximization.
And just to add to that, the FAR total is 3.54, so close to 3.6.
Yeah.
And the additional FAR is minimal, is be about an additional 0.3. So it's it's close to maximum.
Thank you. What potential impact will this rezoning have on non-control applicant sites? Are any of those sites considered soft sites?
So roughly 30,000 square feet plus is the total rezoning area. Victor and his co-applicants control roughly 8,000 square feet. With regards to most of the other area, there's really two properties. The first is the corner of Berry Street, an existing commercial establishment, a restaurant, which could build roughly to the size and bulk of this property. And then the additional site, which would not be considered soft, is the site immediately to the south of us. That's already built to an FAR of well over 3, and so that would not be considered a soft site. So almost all of the buildable square footage within the rezoning area is owned or controlled by Victor and his partners.
There are currently 8 occupied residential units. What are the lease terms of the existing tenants, and what are the rents of the existing tenants?
Sure. So I'll start, and Victor can add as necessary. Most of those tenants have either vacated or their leases that are going to be up during the summer. Victor, again, one of the attractive parts of this rezoning is that we have local owners and neighbors who are conducting the rezoning application. And so they will all receive ample notice. Indeed, the opportunity here, we're not even rezoned yet, but the opportunity here to develop plans for the building at Department of Buildings, as well as obtain financing, would result in a fairly long lead time for those residents of the building. Those who have not vacated or are terming out over the summer, Victor has said that he's able to work with them, both having property and knowing landowners within the area and property owners, in order to make sure that they are sufficiently housed after a proposed rezoning. So he knows most of these tenants, with several of them being in his building, but he and his co-applicants have committed to being as helpful as possible. But clearly, those people would not be affected for a minimum of a year.
How many of those tenants moved out, you said, Richard?
I think of the 8 units, do you know how many are vacant?
No vacancy right now, but there is no senior citizen in the existing premises or tenants with the children, all young professionals, and we will also promise them to help with moving expenses, and if they want to come back in the future after project will be finished, they will get apartment with some discount.
All right, thank you. My last question is, what is the timeline for tenant move-out, demolition, and construction?
Yeah, so I'll start. I think the applicant here, to the extent that the rezoning was approved, the rezoning would be approved within the next several months. Alex, as the project architect, has not yet begun Department of Buildings applications, given that there would be then technical drawings needed. So as mentioned, I think that any type of construction or work to be done on a going forward basis would not be begun for a minimum of a year. And then potentially in terms of the construction timeline, construction, I imagine, would take somewhere between 1.5 years to 2 years.
Yeah, at least.
So that's the rough schedule.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to shout out that we've been joined by the Elliott School of International Affairs in the balcony. Thank you so much for joining us at City Hall. Okay. If Councilmember Shulman, you have any questions? Okay, there being no questions, this applicant panel is excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this application?
Chair, we have no one registered online at the moment, and it appears there's no one signed up to testify in person. If there is, please come forward, fill out a speaker's card. Okay.
Okay, there being no members of the public who wish to testify on LUs numbers 298 and 299 for the North 7th Street rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. Thank you. Okay. That concludes today's business. As a reminder, all public hearings held today have been closed and the items are laid over, but for any members of the viewing public still wishing to submit testimony, you may do so through email by sending it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee counsel, and the Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.